Well, hello chaps, and welcome back to another episode of DTH Reviews, and this week we are doing Battlefield 4. Do you like that?
That was great.
Well, this review is going to be slightly different because Jamison has been playing it on his ultra-powerful transformer-based computer. So you've been playing it in beautiful ultra, basically next-generation stuff, and I've been playing it on the PlayStation 3, so it's kind of going to be not a split review, but we are going to be talking about different aspects because we've been playing it on basically different generations. So it's going to be the same format, but it could be kind of interesting to talk about the differences. So let's split it into two. Let's start with the campaign. When it comes to first-person shooter campaigns, they're kind of starting to get a bit formulaic, where they're just, you know, you're shooting bad guys in the face, and what keeps it interesting is kind of being in interesting places and cinematic moments happening. And for me, Battlefield 4 campaign didn't have a very high level of these. There was one level I did enjoy where you're on a sinking ship. I had some kind of quite cinematic and dramatic moments, but apart from that, there weren't many levels that kind of stuck in my mind as being very impressive, if that makes sense.
I think they did, so I mean, Battlefield 3's campaign was like the most closed, linear corridor thing out there. But I think they did an okay job of sort of opening up the levels a bit more. And sort of, like some of the levels, you know, you get a bit more freedom in... They sort of take a little bit of the freedom from the multiplayer and try to put it into the campaign, and I mean, they don't necessarily do great things with it, but it was sort of appreciated that, like, when you have to take out a tank, it doesn't just... Your AI buddy doesn't just throw you an RPG and say blow it up. They let you, you know, pick your poison and blow it up however you wanted to, which there were a few encounters like that which I sort of appreciated, you know, it's sort of their open arenas. But yeah, the campaign's not it's really not very interesting, but it's not as aggressively boring as Battlefield 3's campaign was.
So I think the main gripe I had with the story, and I know you did as well, is I don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah, I like let you know the day before, or a couple days ago, like, I've never had this problem, even with the seeming overabundance of modern military first-person shooter campaigns. You know, they've always been pretty clear what's going on. It's just, you know, these guys are fighting these guys and whatever. There's always been a semi-comprehensible story, but this was just... I've never had this happen before, but I had absolutely no idea what was going on right from the get-go, right through to the very end. I had no idea who was who. They keep saying character names, and I don't know who that is. Aside from the two other people in your squad, I had no idea who anyone was or what was happening, and it was really weird. I've never had that happen before. Yeah,
you told me, and I thought maybe you were just being a bit, I don't know, maybe you'd missed something or you weren't concentrating. So I sat down and played it for myself, and I completely agree. I had no idea what was happening. I didn't even know what country I was fighting.
Yeah.
But halfway through, are you against the Chinese? Are you against the Russian? I think you're against the Chinese, but then you're in Russia? Why were you in Russia at that one point? I have no idea. And then there's like this bad guy called Dr. Chang or something.
I guess so.
And then you don't even see him. Is he... What, is he the enemy? What? I have no idea what happened.
It was weird. It was just like 7 completely disconnected levels. And then they tried doing weird, like, creating unnecessary drama with the characters in your squad, and they just end up being like the most whiny bitches in the world, like especially Irish. He's just like complaining about everything, and then the other character is, you know, his character arc is he starts swearing at the end of the story, and it was like, oh my god, he said fuck. Oh
yeah.
They had me fucked, and I got unfucked. Let's leave it at that. When'd you get such a potty mouth?
You know, it was just like, I mean, it wasn't as completely forgettable as Battlefield 3's campaign, but it was almost as, like, from a story perspective, it may as well just not have a story whatsoever. But on the PC, holy smokes, it sure does look hot, the campaign, like pretty much better than anything out there. And that was enough to keep me going through, and it was enough to sort of make me enjoy it somewhat, because it looked so incredible. And, you know,
that makes one of us, yeah.
Yeah, and it helps that the whole game plays fine, but it was just, yeah. It just like Battlefield 3, they really don't need a campaign. the only reason they have it is to compete with Call of Duty for whatever reason they feel the need to compete with Call of Duty.
And that's kind of all I can really say about the story, because it's very hard to discuss something when you don't understand it in the slightest. Yeah, the relationships were strange. The AI was a bit of a pain in the ass as well. I kept trying to poke around corners, and then someone would come and just push me out the way because they wanted to use the corner.
Yeah, that was really... I had that happen a good 10 or 15 times where you're behind cover, and then most of the time it was Irish for whatever reason.
Yeah, it was him, yeah. He was an asshole.
He would just, like, decide to take cover right beside you, and all of a sudden you'd be taking damage because you're not in cover anymore because he just pushed you right out of the way. That was really annoying. And I mean, the AI is still pretty crappy. Like, the enemy AI on many occasions just like ran right past me, and my friendly teammates, you know, didn't do anything. And
yeah, I had a lot of that
like, what
as well.
are you doing? Like, why are you running around like this? Yeah, so it's kind of useless.
Yeah, it's not good. I'm not going to remember it. But thankfully, it's the weaker aspect of the game. Shall we transition into the silver lining of the game, which has obviously always been the multiplayer in the Battlefield franchise? I am not as much as a Battlefield player as yourself. I dabble in the series. I played nearly all of them on consoles, and I enjoy them all, and I played them for a good amount of time. But from my perspective, it felt very, very similar to 3 in a good way, because I think they found a formula that works. I did notice some differences. I think the snipers feel much different on Battlefield 4. But I liked it. It still feels clean. It feels familiar. You kind of jump in and you know what you're going to do. And yeah, I think it controls really well.
I think, like, on the surface, like you said, it's gonna, to people that haven't played tons of Battlefield 3 and won't play tons of Battlefield 4, it'll feel very much like a very similar game to Battlefield 3. And in a lot of ways it is, but I think for people that have played a lot of 3, there are lots of little changes that feel much better, you know, and they did a couple of cool things, like there are now a bunch of different weapons that you can use in any class. So like a sniper, in the previous games you could either use a sniper or a shotgun, and I don't normally like either of those options because I've never been able to figure out how to snipe in Battlefield forever. I have no idea how it works. But I like being able to run around with some of the recon kit items. So now I can just switch out and put a carbine in, which is nice. Little things like that are noticeable and welcome. But I think the biggest change for the multiplayer is the levolution that happens on all the different maps, which I think that's probably the coolest thing they could have done with multiplayer. Like, some of the changes on some of the maps don't really do a whole lot, but some of the major events that happen, like where the map floods or that ship comes crashing in.
Yeah, that ship is awesome, yeah.
It's not anything I've ever seen in a multiplayer game before, where the maps change, both visually and gameplay-wise, and it really felt, for the first time in a while, it felt like something genuinely new for multiplayer, which I've never seen before, and I really like it.
Yeah, I agree. It was very neat, the little the levolution, as you said. It was really cool to see for the first time. I'm hoping that as time goes on, it will still be as cool, maybe after playing for a long period of time, because I played less than you, but during the games where some big environmental change happens, the ship one was very cool. It's kind of weird to see everyone around this area kind of just stop what they're doing and turn and watch it, especially because around this period of time it's kind of everyone's like first-ish time playing it. So yeah, for now it's really cool. I'm just kind of hoping that it still plays into gameplay and people don't get used to it, and it just kind of yeah, turns into a novelty.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I've seen like I've seen the ship crash in probably half a dozen times now, and the nice thing about the levolution, the big ones where like the map changes, they don't always happen in a game. Like I've had several games where the levolution, where no one gets around to triggering it happening, because they all have to be triggered by players, and so it sort of seems like random. Like I've played several games where nothing happens and the level stays the same, and then every once in a while the map will just completely change. And so I don't think I mean you'll probably get used to how the map changes, but I don't know that it'll ever really stop getting old because it sort of happens randomly, which is cool.
Yeah, it's good to know. I think overall it's a great feature, and it's nice to see something just new and fresh, because I don't know, you kind of get into the period of just picking up these new FPSs year after year and kind of getting into a rhythm. So it's just, yeah, it's nice to see something new and for it to mix it up a bit.
This is sort of just like a general Battlefield statement, but I've always liked Battlefield because you can, if you want to, you can play with your team, and you really should like play as a team. It's sort of necessary for you to do well, but I like that you are always able to just sort of dick around if you want to, and there never seem to be any consequences. Like in something like Call of Duty, you know, with such small team sizes, you can, like, if you start messing around, it can seriously affect everybody else. But with, at least on the PC, with like 32 players per team, like if I just want to stick C4 onto my truck and drive around trying to blow things up with it, I can do that, and no one cares at all. And I've always liked multiplayer games where you can either get really serious about it or you can just be an idiot, and Battlefield is definitely one of those things.
It definitely fits into that category. I really liked the destructible environments. I know they've been a staple in the franchise, but I think they stepped up the technology behind it, and it just looks slightly better, I think, when a tank's coming in and it starts wildly shooting at a building. Personally, I think it looks much better than 3. I think, I'm going to say the one gripe I have about current generation Battlefield 4 multiplayer, and it's still the fact that the maps, in my opinion, are too big for 12-a-side, isn't it? 24 players, 12v12?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's it, yeah. That's the max size, which is crazy.
It's just, yeah, it's just not enough people. It really just, in my opinion, it just doesn't really work very well. I haven't played very much, and I've actually stopped, and I'm not going to be playing anymore, because playing kind of current generation Battlefield 4 really feels like I'm kind of playing a demo for the real Battlefield 4, and that the fact that I know that 64-player shiny Battlefield is literally weeks away, and I could just wait and, you know, savor this fresh game to play it how it's supposed to be played, for me, has really put me off playing current generation. I mean, if people don't have the money to buy a next generation console anytime soon, then go ahead, because I did have some fun with it. But for me, the fact that I know I'm going to be getting a PS4 when it comes out, I just can't help but put it down and wait, because I'm excited. I'm excited to play the next generation of Battlefield 4. Our ratings are obviously going to be varied, because you are rating the next generation and I am rating the current generation.
Yeah.
So for current generation, I am going to give it a 3 stars. That is literally all for the multiplayer. I'm not even looking at the campaign for my rating. It's fun, it plays well, the Levolution is cool, the destructible environment's cool, but in my opinion, the maps are too big. Some people might disagree, because they might like the kind of, I wouldn't say it's slow paced, but it's kind of the encounters are quite spread out, but I'm quite a low attention span guy. I like to have lots of action, and when I have to kind of, you see like a little red arrow on your radar, and you like sprint for 10 minutes just because you're like, oh, combat, and then you get there and everyone's dead. And you're like, for fuck's sake, now I've got to run somewhere else. So, yep, I know it's a low rating, but I'm just excited for next generation. And the way you've been talking about it, you know, I can't wait to pick it up again in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go 4 stars, like a strong 4, because it's definitely sort of an incremental improvement or upgrade from Battlefield 3, but it's definitely some of the most fun multiplayer I've had in a while, and it's really, I mean, you have to take into account the campaign, which is just kind of a turd. And yeah, like you said, the Levolution is really awesome, and if you can play it on a PC, play it on a PC, but if you can't, I would really just wait for next gen, because 64 players and 60 frames per second is kind of essential for Battlefield, I think. And 64 players pretty much is Battlefield, and not having even a third of that, or, you know, having a third of that on current gen is, I wouldn't recommend it, especially if you're like thinking about playing Battlefield for the first time. Just wait and play it the way it's meant to be played, with lots of people and non-stop shenanigans.
Well, thanks for watching again, guys. We wanted to do a quick disclaimer. Coming up soon, as you all know, is the release of Next Generation. Me and Jamison will both be getting a PlayStation 4. So, unfortunately, if you guys wanted any Rise or Dead Rising 3 reviews, they will not be happening. Not for ages anyway, because we won't be picking up an Xbox One, unfortunately. So that's just something to keep a note of.
Yeah, I'll be getting the I know I will be, at least sort of a month before Titanfall hits, which will be like February, and Titanfall's out March. So
that's my aim as well, yeah.
But yeah, for now, we're going to be going PS4 just because it just seems like a much more logical choice at this point, even though there aren't as many games coming out. So we might have we will have lots of next-gen reviews, but they might just be a little bit later because the PS4 is launching 2 weeks after. It's launching 2 weeks later in Europe after the North American release, so you have to wait an extra 2 weeks. So
it's my fault. It's my fault. I can't get a PlayStation through 29th of November.
Yeah, so
we'll
be having next-gen stuff happening soon, but maybe not until like early December.
Anything that's cross-platform will go ahead like normal. Maybe you'll play like Assassin's Creed 4 on the PlayStation 4 and I'll play it on the PS3.
Yeah.
But for exclusive titles like
Killzone.
Killzone,
What's
that's
the launch game? Killzone.
What's that franchise? Yeah, Killzone. That will maybe be a bit later, like December, hopefully early December, as long as my pre-order gets here in good time. So we just wanted to quickly say that, so you guys know what's coming up. And yeah, thanks for watching.